All right, so thanks again for inviting us to speak today, and yeah, we'll provide some updates as to how things are going with Ava. And for those of you who don't know us yet, I'm gonna start from with the beginning of our story and our mission briefly, so that you know where we're coming from and why we are doing what we're doing here at Ava. So starting point is this slide, myself in the middle, and then my two co-founders to my left and right. This is us actually in Berkeley. You might recognize this for those of you who go to the East Bay ever, because here's the tower, the Campanile at the Berkeley campus. So to my left in this picture is Skinner, who is our CTO. And Skinner is actually deaf since he was 2 years old. He's an incredible developer and basically built the first versions of our product, and still is of incredible value to the organization and oversees a lot of the technical engineering that happens in the company. And then on my right-hand side is Thibaut. Maybe some of you have already met Thibaut, or you know him through different channels, but he's the CEO, and he is born in a deaf family. So both his parents and his sister are deaf. So Thibaut grew up in Paris, in France, and sign language is his first language, French sign language, that is. So if we think about and I think focusing especially also on my co-founder to my left, so Skinner. Skinner is as I mentioned, since he was 2 years old, he's deaf, and he learned how to lip read Mandarin Chinese because he actually grew up in Taiwan. But then he came to the United States, and it was a lot harder for him to actually lip read English speakers. And that is also, I think for many people who are deaf or hard of hearing, the challenges of lip reading are especially big when they are in group conversations, right? When there's multiple people around and you're trying to focus on the person in front of you, and then to your left or right, people start talking, very quickly do you get lost in the conversation, which often leads to miscommunications and isolation, as you can see in this slide. And of course, in the modern world, or today's world, things are even less accessible, right? So if lip reading wasn't already a challenge, with people wearing masks, it's even more of a problem. It's pretty much impossible at this point, right? So unless people have masks that have those little windows in there, and even those I've understood from many people aren't always solving the challenges. And then think about all the calls that we're on, this one being one of them. Now, luckily, everyone has their video turned on, which is great, or at least most of us. But there's so many situations where it's so difficult to actually pick up on what people are saying, because people don't turn their cameras on, their lighting might be off, so they're sitting in front of their window. It's like tiny little screens, so I can barely see who's talking and what's being said. So this is really why Ava exists, and this is impacting a lot of people in the world. So according to the WHO, that population is only growing every day. And so that's really why we invented Ava, and Ava stands for audio visually accessible. So that's how we got to Ava. And what we're trying to do is to make the world accessible for everybody at any time, anywhere they go. And so that it doesn't matter where you find yourself, you have a tool, a technological tool that can help you to be partaking in conversations more easily. So before I continue to speak to what Ava actually is and how it works, I do have a quick question for everyone here. And I'm hoping maybe Janie or someone is monitoring the chat, because you're also welcome to ask or provide thoughts in the chat. And I'm happy to pause at any time to kind of answer to people's questions. But my question for you is, where are your biggest challenges today? So if you think about a world in which we have so many more virtual conversations where people are wearing masks, what are some examples perhaps where you're struggling the most? And I'd love for people, if they have any specific thoughts, to provide those, so we can maybe speak to those as well during this presentation. Feel free to also post them in the chat if that's easier. I see. Yeah, go ahead. There's a hand raised, I think.
Yeah, this is Tony. I think the biggest challenge is even though we have accessibility at a lot of places now, people don't speak into the mic, or they're turning their heads when they're speaking into the mics. And so the audio quality is distorted. That seems to be the biggest problem that I'm having. And obviously in large rooms, conferences, city hall meetings, it's very difficult.
Yeah, totally. Thanks for that, Tony. Thanks for sharing that.
Peter, I could try to do the chat, and I'm not really good on computers, so I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I'll just ask you. I love using Ava for everything, but the thing I heard that I might be able to use it for is the captioning on the TV. When the captioning is really bad, is there a way that we can use Ava for that?
Yeah, I can speak to that as well. It's not something we're like super good at, as in it's not a focus area, but there's different ways in which you can set it up potentially to also caption TV. So I would be more than happy to see with you how we could facilitate that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And thanks for bringing that up, Regine. I see another hand. Yeah, go ahead. I can't see the name, unfortunately, so I can't call people on their names. But yeah, please go ahead if you'd like to share.
Hi, my name is Sharon Swerdlow. One of the biggest challenges for me right now is in medical situations. So it's the big thing. And I don't know if then all my doctors and people have to download it, or like some my oncologists this morning, and my Otter, which I use, just like wouldn't turn on. Then I went into notes, and I need something like quick and easy if I'm in a medical situation, and I want to make 100% sure that I'm hearing what someone says. Everybody is always typing stuff into their computers, so even well-articulated medical professionals are mumbling with their mask into a computer. Even people who are well-intended. That's a huge, huge, huge concern of mine.
Definitely. Thanks so much for sharing that, Sharon. Appreciate it. Carolyn?
Trying. Okay. In terms of the TV, what Regine was talking about, on the Apple, you can mirror your TV. Mirror your Netflix to the TV and things like that. So I'm thinking that Ava would work in those situations where you can mirror what's on your desktop to the TV. But do you have other options available other than something like that? Is that what you were referring to?
Yeah, I think that specifically, and thanks, Carolyn, for the suggestion here, because I think it's a great suggestion. And, I'm always impressed with your technical know-how and abilities. They actually go way beyond mine. So,
No.
But I guess what I was trying to allude to earlier is that we specifically maybe look at the setup or the situation. Are you currently using a headphone, or how's the sound coming out of your TV currently? And then see if there's a way to set Ava up. One of my first thoughts is perhaps we could place a device or a microphone somewhat close to the TV, and then you are sitting wherever you are seated on the couch or your chair, and then you are able to follow the captions on your device. But to have the captions to project in the TV is not something I can immediately sort of imagine with Ava currently. But certainly we can work together on seeing what's possible, which I think also comes back to what I was saying earlier in this slide. This is our mission, right? Like, we are here to make the world accessible 24/7. And so it's exactly through this kind of feedback and suggestions, and that's why I'm asking you this question, that we can learn and do better and make changes to the applications and services we provide, so that you actually can use Ava in more situations than you're already doing today. So thanks, and and if there's other people who have anything they want to share or thoughts, then feel free to bring them up, because that's how we learn and get better. And I see Janie, you've raised your hand, so perhaps you have something to share there.
Well, there's some other stuff in chat. I don't know if you saw them.
Oh,
There's like medical doctor, grocery store, healthcare, everywhere with math, speech and noise, group get-togethers. For me, it was being able to point the bottom of my cell toward a speaker and then reading the captioning, where normally it's the other way around. And then there's another person, multi-mic with a CI.
nice. Yes, I'm seeing now also the chat, and thanks so much, Janie, for bringing that to my attention. And thanks everyone for providing these different situations, because it's super helpful. And I think what I'll try to do is kind of talk to some of these in the presentation as well. Yeah, with that said, let's continue, because I also want to be mindful of time, and I know that there's still a meeting to be had after this presentation. So I'll just jump in here and kind of give you a quick understanding of what we're currently doing and what Ava, how it works essentially. So starting point, there's 3 different products that we have today. We have a mobile application which works, and I maybe should go to this screen here to kind of explain that a little bit better. A mobile application which works on phones and tablets, both iOS and Android. So iOS would be Apple devices, and Android could be many different ones, like for example, Samsung or LG or similar brands, or yeah. And we have a web application which works through the browser. So you basically go to your browser, whether that's Google Chrome or Internet Explorer or Safari, and then you can open a web page which will allow you to actually caption. And I'm going to show you what that looks like also. And then finally, we have a desktop application which you can download and install on your computer, whether it's a PC or a laptop. And this works on Mac computers, so Apple computers, as well as Windows. And basically with those 3 products, again, this comes back to sort of the 24/7 access. We're trying to make it easier for you to use Ava on any one of your devices. So back to that slide here. We started with a mobile application. That was the very beginning of Ava, and probably, as some of you also know us, because that development was launched, I want to say, in 2016. So it's quite some time ago now. And the whole proposition here is, how can we actually caption and convert conversations into text, where we actually assign or recognize the different speakers and give them colors, so that it's easier not only to understand what is being said, but also who is speaking. And other features I think that are important here to consider, and that also go to show how we're focused on accessibility. Sometimes you might find yourself, and I know Sharon, you mentioned how you were in a hospital environment or a healthcare environment, and you were having trouble to get the app to work. In this case, Otter, which is another app that I'm sure most of you know. We have been developing and are consistently trying to improve our offline version of Ava, so that if you find yourself in an environment where your internet might not be as stable, you can still use the app to caption the conversation for you. Furthermore, there's ways for people to use Ava to also text or even speak back, which is relevant, for example, for my co-founder Skinner, who I mentioned earlier, because he doesn't really verbally communicate. So he uses Ava also in a way to respond. And there's also ways for you to actually provide vocabulary. And what I mean with that is that you can tell Ava, here's a set of words or names, and maybe things like abbreviations that normally automatic speech recognition would not recognize, that you can then, that Ava will actually pick up if you tell Ava that it should. So with that being said, I want to start with the first short demonstration. And let me see if I can share my screen here. That's interesting. It's telling me to install a plugin, which is strange. That hasn't happened before. I think we're good here. Okay. Can people see my phone screen? Okay, perfect. So you can also then see the captions of what I'm saying here. This is our mobile application. So I have my phone in my hands. You probably can't really see my my camera right now, but I have my phone here and I'm speaking into it. It's using the microphone in the bottom of the phone. And as you can see, it's picking up what I'm saying. And so the idea here is that if you find yourself in a situation which is you know, more spontaneous or ad hoc, or let's say you go into that hospital and you need to understand what the person, the other people are saying, you can pull Ava out of your pocket, you can start the app on your phone, and you hold it up to the speaker. Now, the best accuracy is actually achieved if you point the microphone towards the speaker. And I mentioned that the microphone that we use per default is in the bottom of the device. It's the same microphone that you would use if you're making a phone call and you're holding your phone up to your mouth, basically. So if I point that microphone towards the speaker now, then it's going to flip my screen. And this is something I think that Janie, you brought up in the chat as well. This is helpful because if I walk in and I want to caption somebody, I can just point the microphone towards them so that I get high accuracy captions, and I can still read them horizontally, right? I don't have to read them upside down or move the phone around to be able to kind of read along. And I can do the same horizontally, right? So now you're seeing actually my screen horizontally. So the screen will move with the captions in that sense to make it easier to use it in different types of situations. I'm gonna leave it at that for now. This is the most basic way of using Ava, just on your phone. You start the app and it starts captioning what you're saying. And as I mentioned, if you find yourself in a low internet connectivity situation, it'll still work. Just to be sure, you can see my slides again with the captions below it, right? Yes, okay, great.
Yeah.
Perfect. So this is kind of a quick recap here, but you can imagine situations like first responders using this, doctor's office, one-on-ones, basically like in-person interactions where you need to be able to understand the other person easily. And so this is not using any external microphones or anything like that just yet. I'll get to that in a second. We already talked about this. And what I want to talk about next is the ability to connect multiple devices. This is something that we've been focused on since the early days of developing Ava. And it's a unique feature that we offer in the sense that you can connect any device to the conversation so that I can be on my phone while you are on your tablet and our friend is on their computer. We're all connected to each other. And we could even connect between the different platforms, whether it's a mobile app or the web app. But the goal there is so that to make it easier if you find yourself in a meeting or in a group conversation to be able to see what other people are saying. And before I do a demonstration of what that looks like, I have one video that I want to share. And one of the things that we are consistently working on is to make it easier for other people who might not know you so well or you don't meet with very regularly to be able to join your conversation. And we cannot expect everybody to download and install Ava on their devices. So that's why we've actually developed the web application so that somebody can just scan the QR code or connect to our unique link. So we have a link that is associated to our user account within Ava. And that way the individual uses their own device to connect with my conversation or our conversation without having to install the app. So it takes them to the web application, to the browser, or basically a web page, so that they can then speak into their phone and then we can see what they're saying. So this is a quick and easy example of that. So the point here is that so I have my Ava account set up on my device. I'm showing my QR code to the other individual. They don't have Ava, but they can relatively quickly connect with me. And I'm going to do a demonstration now where I can show that a bit better. Let me see if I can share that screen again here. Okay. Yep. Test. Testing. Can you see what I'm saying? Perfect. Okay, so I have my phone here. I have my iPad here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to connect these two devices. So I am going to first open the app on my iPad, and then I'm going to basically pull up the QR code. And by the way, maybe I can show you, let's see what's easy here. First, I'll show you actually what it looks like on my phone, so you have an understanding of what I'm doing on the iPad. So before I go and show you kind of the next steps, I just want to say what you're seeing here is essentially the way for me to connect with other individuals. I have my unique URL, like it's a specific link that anybody can join to connect with me, or they can join through the QR code. And I can show to others what that looks like by tapping on this little icon to the right of my microphone. So here you can see that basically. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scan the QR code on the iPad, and then both devices are going to be connected to each other. Let me just try the other way around. I apologize. It's taking a little bit longer. There we go. All right. So what happened here is that I just connected the second device. As a matter of fact, actually, my teammate Akil helped me out. So he's now connected to my conversation. So what you can see if I click on the screen here in my contact list. Actually, let me. Akil, could you try to speak on your end and see if we actually can get the captions to come through? Okay, so not seeing that yet.
You mean you want the captions for Zoom to come through?
Yeah, you know what? I'm sharing the wrong screen here. My apologies. Let me just.
So what I can do is I can quickly walk through what I did, because Pieter was showing his QR code. I actually opened up the camera on my phone and I scanned his QR code and I joined his conversation within 2 clicks. So I can actually see Pieter's captions on my phone along with my captions as well.
All right, let's try this again. So what I'm going to do here, Akil, if you want to join my session, I'm going to show you my QR code, and then you can scan it, and then we're going to connect our devices. Okay, so what you could see is that Akil essentially, I got a notification on my phone, which basically announced and asked me, would it be okay if Akil is connecting to the conversation? I accepted it, and now the two of us are connected. And so the top of the screen, and I see Tony also just connected. In the top of the screen, you can see the different people that are in the conversation here. And then, so right now it's also picking up through Tony's microphone, it looks like. And then Akil, if you start speaking, it should show up in a different color as well.
Yep, let's see what my color shows up as. In green. Oh, is it because I had the translation?
So Akil's phone is actually set to German. I'm guessing German captions, since that specific word seems German to me.
Yes.
Schweizerpass would be my best attempt to pronounce that.
Yeah.
So what I think what the gist of it is, which I'm trying to show you, is the different colors of the speakers. And with that, let me actually switch back to my slides. Thanks, Akil, for helping out, and thanks, Tony, also for joining in. So let me see where I am. So okay, so basically we've gone from using Ava by itself, solo mode is how we call it. So it's just on your device and nobody else, or no other microphones, to then looking at how can we connect multiple devices. And now one other way to extend essentially the range of your abilities with Ava is to connect microphones. And I know this is one of the questions in the chat earlier about that microphone that you're using along with your CI, like a multi-mic, I think you called it, Sarah. And so there's different ways to actually connect microphones to the Ava application. But you can have a wired microphone, which you would just connect to your phone, or a Bluetooth microphone. That Bluetooth microphone could be a standalone, such as the one that's displayed here in the screen, but it can also be things like something like a Roger Pen, for example, or other basically FM based microphone systems. One of the things you have to keep in mind is that it should have a Bluetooth capability, which is separate from the signal it uses to connect with your hearing aids. So in the case of Roger Pen and Phonak hearing aids, it's actually possible to connect it to both, so that the Roger Pen essentially is amplifying the audio to the hearing aid. At the same time, it's connected to your device so that it can help the Ava captions to improve. And the key here, which is going to be important across the board, whatever automatic captioning solution you are using, is that the microphone needs to be close to the speakers in order for you to get the best accuracy captions. So whether you use an external microphone or you use the microphone on your device, which you're holding up to the speaker, or you are connecting with other people's devices and basically having a group conversation with Ava, the goal is really to get the microphones to be close enough to the speakers so you get the best accuracy. And I'll just show you 2 examples of that in terms of videos that I have here. I'm also mentioning the social distance. So in this case, there's 2 devices being used. They're connecting to each other. And I'm also wearing a wired microphone. All right. So that sort of concludes a little bit more about like the group conversation, how you can connect multiple devices as well as microphones to the device, so to enhance your range of hearing essentially. Final thing I want to say in terms of the different products, I mentioned the web application, I mentioned the mobile app for the most part. We have also a new product called Ava CC. or Ava Closed Captions. It's the desktop application. So it's a software or a piece of it's basically a tool that you install on your computer, again on a laptop or PC, and it basically is also what I'm using at the bottom of the screen. So the captions you're looking at through Ava are being displayed in the desktop app. And what's really nice about it is that you can move it around and you can resize it to whatever is your liking, but it basically can be used across any piece of content. So this next slide is basically a way to show you that it's essentially, if you have this tool on your computer, you have one-click captions for pretty much any type of content you're looking to caption, whether it's a podcast or a video that doesn't have captions on it, or a Zoom call or a Google Meets call. And one thing I should point out here is that in the context of this meeting, of course, we are all very familiar with, the need for captions. Let me make sure that my captions are coming through. Yep. So what I was saying is we're all familiar with the need for captions. However, there's a lot of situations where we find ourselves in conference calls or meetings, and it might not be that simple or easy to actually get access to those captions because you don't know the host, or the host forgets to turn on the captions. There's examples where people are using Microsoft Teams that, of course, as you all know, Microsoft Teams also provides captions, but not to everybody. Sometimes it provides captions to people in the organization. As soon as someone from outside the organization comes in, it doesn't. And so there's limitations to the autonomy and the level of control that we have when we're using these tools. And that is not even sort of considering the fact that, if I use one platform and it has captions, but then I use the next platform and it doesn't have captions, it doesn't give me full access, right? And so what we're trying to achieve with Ava and the desktop application of Ava is really to give you a tool that can be captioning anything across the board, and you have full control and full autonomy over it. Because I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to ask anybody to provide captions for me to be able to show them to you on the bottom of the screen. And it's also able to pick up other speakers. So we have a smart way actually to use the internal audio of your computer to be able to pick up other speakers or other like content or digital audio that is not necessarily spoken by yourself. And I'm also wearing my headphones at the same time. So, I can quickly sort of demonstrate a little bit more what this looks like. As you can see here, I'm like kind of resizing it. There's many different things you can do. You can also invite other speakers to the conversation. Let me also just quickly pull this up. So here, you can see that I can change also the font size. There's different color themes. So black background, white text, versus in this case, white background, dark text. There's the ability to change the language in which you're captioning, as well as doing translation. I see there's a question to be invited to the conversation. Yes, I guess we can actually. Why not? We could try it out. So here's what I'll do then. For people to be able to join my session on Ava, I'm going to send a link, or I'm going to paste a link in the chat. So it's in the Zoom chat, and you're welcome to click on that. So to join the conversation, please do keep in mind that if you're not using a headphone, when you're not speaking, then it would be great if you could turn off the microphone on Ava, and I'll show you how that works. So here in the top right, I have this little microphone icon. If I click on it, it goes gray, and that means that the microphone is turned off or muted. And if I turn it on, it's blue. So anybody is welcome to click on the link. I just pasted it in the chat, the Zoom chat, that is, and it should take you to the web application, or if you have the desktop application on your device, then it'll actually join through there. And then we should start seeing people showing up in the conversation. Let me just check something here. Yeah, so I see the first person here showing up. So that's great. And this is a way for us to actually be able to differentiate the speakers more specifically, so that if now, say, Sarah, if you speak, we should see your text in a different color. If you'd like, we could try it. Nice. That's great. That's great, because I didn't actually hear you at all, but I could read what you were saying there. So I'm happy that worked. I think you still had your microphone on Zoom muted. But yeah, that's a perfect example of when you have people actually joining the session and they're speaking, it actually picks up and shows you the different their different names, as opposed to when I'm using Ava by myself without inviting anybody, it shows other people as speakers. So it's more generic in that sense. Okay, so I'll leave it at that. One thing I want to point out, you have the ability to also save transcripts with Ava if that is something you desire to do, which can be useful because you can then read back after the conversation or after the meeting. I'm going to stop this session and I'm going to start a new session because I want to demonstrate a different feature. As a matter of fact, I can just leave it as is and then demonstrate that feature to you. So the next thing, and I'll change this to so that you can see the captions again at the bottom of the screen. 1 second. Here we go. All right. The next thing I want to show you is Ava Scribe. So Ava Scribe is actually a really important development that we've been working on for the past few years. And this is based on the fact that we recognize and understand that automatic speech recognition based captions are great in the sense that they can help us to have more access in many more environments than we would normally have. But there's limitations to the accuracy that they can provide for different reasons. Sometimes there's a lot of background noise. Sometimes speakers have a thick accent or a high-pitched voice. For whatever reason, the captions might not be as accurate as we want them to be. And so for this purpose or this reason, we've developed a service which basically combines the machine, the AI-based captions, with human professional transcribers. These are the people, we call this Ava Scribe, and the scribes are trained by Ava to be able to join your conversation and to then improve the captions, basically. So I'm going to show you how it works, but high level, it basically requires you as the user to schedule the scribe in advance, ahead of time. Our current requirement for you is to give us a 12-hour minimum heads up time. So that means 12 hours before you anticipate using the service, you let us know. And then at the time of that meeting, you're going to have to connect with the scribe, which is the next step, which I'm going to show you right now. So I am going to go here. Sorry for that little glitch. I can click on improve accuracy. And then here is my option to choose scribe captions. And so what's happening, you can see it in the top. It's not super well visible, but here in the top, it's currently trying to connect with the Ava Scribe. So somebody who is remotely going to connect into the conversation. And it looks like it just connected because it's not blinking anymore. And you see that the microphone on the right turned green. And so currently there's a scribe who is actually helping to improve the accuracy of this conversation or this session. And the best way to probably test if they're actually there is to just say a few names or things that the AI would make mistakes on. For example, my own name, if I say Pieter Doevendans, actually that was pretty well picked up. So I should try to find something else perhaps. Well, it's hard for me to actually think of things. I'm going to say my name once more and see what it does. So if I say Pieter Doevendans in the middle of a sentence, is it going to pick up what I'm saying? No. Okay, so now let's see if the scribe actually is paying attention. I don't see the correction just yet. So, okay, there it is. So the scribe is in the conversation. Maybe they're still also playing catch up a little bit. But you could see that, you know, the words got corrected, and it's not always as easy to spot, but it does help a lot to give you a higher level accuracy, right? And to make sure, one of the things also the scribe is good at doing is to provide contextual information. We all know that the machine doesn't really pick up things like laughing or applauding or environmental sounds. So those are things that the scribe can help with. Okay, so let me actually go back here. Okay. So let's see. So I'm almost done with the presentation. Actually, there's a few more slides, and then we can go into sort of answering questions. So one final thing I want to say, and let me close the door here because it's a bit noisy in the background. I've kind of talked about this a little bit already, but what we're really trying to achieve with the different platforms that I've been demonstrating to you is to make a tool that can give us access pretty much anywhere we go. And that includes things like events, hospitals. So this was mentioned. As a matter of fact, I'm currently working closely with Ann Thomas, who is also on this call, to look at how we can make some of the Bay Area-based healthcare institutions more accessible. I'm happy to also talk maybe on a different note with people who are more interested to learn more about that. And ultimately, we do this obviously with these kinds of reviews and testimonials as really our motivation. So we get these kinds of feedbacks from our users almost daily, and this is what keeps us up. This is why Akil and Sarabella are excited to come on to the team and to work hard together with the rest of the team to make this a reality, because yeah, we really care. And that's why, you know, we also welcome your guys' feedback and input, because we want to hear from you and make the app work better for you. Some of the institutions that we work with, there's a lot more than these, but it's something that it's not just something that we can do by ourselves. We're trying to partner up with large institutions and trying to really get them to also understand what it means to be accessible. So it's an ongoing effort. We're making small strides, but we're already, you know, we've already been able to help and empower many thousands of people. And we look forward to continue to do that together with everyone on this call. So thanks. That being said, thanks so much for your attention. I would love to answer questions or go into more specifics on the different demonstrations. Here is the contact information of myself, as well as Akil and Sarabella, who are both on this call. And yeah, fire away. And I hope, Janie, I'm sorry, Regine, also, if I took up too much time here.
Nope, you're doing fine.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions?
Just making sure that everyone is picked up. Okay, go ahead.
Let's see.
There were questions.
Sarah has a question on chat.
Okay. Okay, so question from Sarah in the chat function in Zoom. Do you think medical doctors will be okay using Ava? Perhaps I see Ann Thomas, and Ann Thomas thinks yes. I think also that it will be possible. But maybe Sarah, if you don't mind sharing kind of what's the concern you might have, like why do you think that it might not be the case that they would?
I'm not hearing Sarah. Anne, do you want to?
Maybe. Well, so Sarah, if you want to comment on it and kind of provide like maybe more context as to why you think that doctors might not want to use it, please feel free to jump in and do so. Otherwise, I can say that we're trying our best to make it easy and accessible also for doctors and working professionals to kind of use the tools. And again, as I mentioned previously, I've been working closely with Ann Thomas as one of the biggest advocates here to make that a reality. And I think some of the concerns that healthcare institutions typically will have are around patient health information and privacy of that information. We've built and designed our system so that we can actually accommodate that kind of concern by turning off any type of data saving, as well as the transcript feature that I mentioned previously. So that helps a lot because it definitely eliminates some of the main concerns that hospitals might typically have when looking at a solution like this. I know, Tony, you had a question, and then Ann Thomas also.
Yes. One question I have about when I turn on the microphone for Ava, because my hearing aids stream into my iPhone, they kind of like the phone switches into streaming mode, and so I don't hear through the microphones on the hearing aid very good. So do you know an answer for that?
Yes, it's not we've had that feedback before, actually. So I think the best thing to do is for us to connect after this meeting and to work directly with you to see how we can resolve that. And we need to see if that might require any specific tweaks on Ava's end, because it's definitely not the first time I'm hearing that feedback. So thanks for bringing that up. And if it's okay with you, I'd love to connect. So maybe if you can shoot me an email or provide your email to myself or one of my team members on the call, that'd be fantastic. And maybe to come back real quick to Sarah, because Sarah had mentioned that maybe they don't want to be recorded in reference to doctors, right? So maybe doctors don't want you to be recording them. I think my answer there is that Ava is not really a recording tool. It's a captioning tool, right? So it's a way for you to actually see what is being said, as a hearing person would hear what is being said. And Ava does not keep an audio file or recording of a conversation. So when people have that concern, that is something you can bring to their attention. It's still valid to, it's still something that, of course, people might think that way. I think that that's probably my best answer here is to say, well, I don't have any audio recording. It's just captions, and if you'd like to, we can set it up so that the captions don't even stay. So I can see them in real time, and then they're gone afterwards. So hopefully that helps to alleviate some of those worries. And Thomas, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, Peter, I have a question, but I have a comment about the previous question. So I think it's important to realize that there's a difference between recording and saving a transcript. And so if you're dealing with an enterprise version of Ava, there's a possibility that part of that dialogue would be that they would set it up so you could never save a transcript. Okay. But Peter, my question was, how many people at one time can be connected to an Ava conversation? What's the max?
Yeah, it's a great question. And to be completely honest with you, I'm not even sure, because we haven't really tried to stress test that to really large numbers of people. In principle, there's no limit per se. The thing where so we have a limited number of colors that we can assign to people. So at some point, when more people join the number of colors, I believe maybe right now there's about 12 or so colors, then people will be assigned the same color as somebody else in the conversation. But in terms of the number of people, I think you can go up to as many as you would want to, like, but we haven't tested it above, say, 50 or so. And I realize I might have a disconnect. Test 1, 2.
You're still
Okay.
here.
And Kenneth Peters had a question about what does basic fee include?
1 second. Sorry, I'm just going to reset my captions. I apologize for that. Just bear with me for half a minute. Okay, I think we're good here. Yep, we are good here. Janie, could you repeat that?
Kenneth Peters wanted to ask, what does basic free include?
Oh, okay. Yes. So the question is, what does basic free captions include? That is one of Ava's plans. So maybe to clarify a little bit more how that works, we currently offer different packages or services, if you will, and we have packages that are tailored to consumer users, and we have packages that are tailored to organizational users. And what does that mean? Organizational users means perhaps a student in a school or in a university or an employee at a certain organization. Consumer users is people who are using it in their daily lives by themselves for personal usage. And so the basic free captions are our free plan for those people. You have basically unlimited access to the captions. However, there's a cap on the session length with which you can use the app, so that if you're in a conversation that lasts longer than 40 minutes, and maybe Akil, correct me if I'm wrong here, then it'll stop the conversation. So you'd have to restart the conversation. I think one of the key things that makes the free version different from some of the other versions is the accuracy of the captions, because we use something, well, we call it basic captions, but it's essentially automatic speech recognition based captions with lesser accuracy, in part because it's actually quite expensive for us to provide the premium accuracy, so high level accuracy captions on a per minute basis, which is something you would get if you are on a paid subscription or a paid plan of the Ava app. And Akil, feel free to jump in if I'm missing important points here. Yeah, so I don't know, I hope that helps to answer the question. I think there's another hand raised, and I'm sorry because I can't see the names of the different people's images. So
Hey, Robert Hall. Yeah, I just really had a comment too about the using the Ava with a physician. Is most of them, I've never had a problem getting somebody to cooperate with me with this. You just ask them politely, I really have trouble hearing this, or when they're trying to give you instructions for something like what they want you to do next. I think it would be great if they could just talk into the Ava and you get the caption so you have a record of what it is you're supposed to do. I mean, I would think they don't have to write it out.
Yeah, good point. Thanks. Definitely appreciate that. and I think you're right. Like, and one thing again to keep in mind here is that in some cases the hospital environment will have certain restrictions on because of HIPAA compliance on what you can and cannot keep. But if it's on your end, so if you're coming in and it's on your device, then it should not be an issue there. So to your point, Robert, you can simply just hold it up and listen to the speaker and then have something to reread. Permitted that the physician or the practitioner is comfortable and okay with that. And Thomas, you had your hand up.
Can you talk a little bit about using different languages? So
Yeah.
can one speaker be using one language, and can the other person have it translate to a different language in Ava?
Yes. Thanks for that question. Indeed, there's different abilities when it comes to languages. I'll show actually here when I enlarge this and I go to my menu, you can see here an option where I can change the spoken language. And we have about, I want to say 15 to 20 different languages available. That includes a lot of different versions of Spanish, dialects of Spanish, as you can see, as well as the ability to translate into a different language. So what I'll do as a way of demonstrating this is to change my spoken language into Dutch and then change the translation into English. En als ik nu in het Nederlands ga praten, dan kun je nog steeds volgen wat ik zeg. En ik vind het een eer om hier te mogen zijn en deze presentatie aan jullie allemaal te geven. Hopelijk is het helder wat ik aan het vertellen ben en zijn jullie enthousiast over deze applicatie.
So Pieter, this is in the Ava CC. So if you're in the mobile app, I see here it's really easy to see the spoken language and the translated language. In the mobile app, I don't think it's so clearly delineated, is it?
So that's a good point, and I would agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I think, it depends. So, but actually, instead of saying that, sorry, back up. Why do you think so, Anne?
Because we tried to use it this morning. I tried to use it this morning with somebody as a demo.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just opened, so this is simple. I just opened up my app and it says speech language. And I don't see another option.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So see, there's speech language. There aren't two options: spoken language and translation into.
Okay, because it should be the case actually. So we might want to look at that with you. Akil, you have a comment.
Yes, thanks. Great question, Anne. The setting is there. So if you can see my screen right now, I've got Ava. It's probably quite hard to see, but
yeah, there it is.
But I'm on the main screen. But if I just sort of tap and drag down, you'll see the settings icon. And if I tap on that, you'll see the same options like you saw on the desktop application. You'll see spoken language and translation language.
Okay, but it's not in the profile settings. It's in the touch screen.
On the conversation setting, correct.
Thank you. I have a wonderful thing to tell all of you, and I was really excited when I heard this. Somebody chose to speak a Chinese language and recite a well-known poem, and they said Ava was almost completely accurate. It was really exciting.
That's awesome. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard. Some of the languages, I don't speak that many of them, so it's hard to know how well it does in each of the languages. But that's a great reference, and thanks for sharing that. And I hope everyone got that. I'm sorry, I stopped sharing my screen for a second, so I hope everyone got the captions of what Anne was saying.
And it was two people who knew Chinese, so both people knew how well it was translating.
Nice. That's awesome. Okay, let me just change the view on this. Are there other questions?
I am not seeing any.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
well then I guess we're done. If let's see, you have an email address there. Do you want to put that in the chat for those people who want to reach?
Sure, yeah.
And then, but boy, thank you so much for joining us today, along with Akila and Sarabella.
Yeah.
It was great to see this. And did you notice that we had the Zoom captioning going while you were speaking Dutch? It was funny to see, Ava translating it, and Zoom caption were like garbage, of course. That was great. Real-time proof.
Yeah, there you go. Well, if there's any other questions or things that come up for anybody, I just posted our emails in the Zoom chat. So feel free to reach out anytime. And then definitely, Tony, if I don't know if you're still here, but would love to connect and solve that challenge that you were having with the hearing aids. And yeah, thanks, Janie. Thanks, Regine.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone else, for being here. Again, great to see a lot of familiar faces, and I hope to be in touch with you all.
Okay. Thank you,
All
Pete.
right. You're very welcome.